Thank you, Chairman. I guess I don't have much time to explain to you everything, so I'll be very brief to get the other speakers also to be in the time. Now, successful technologies get generations happening, and in the generations, you make things work better, and you move onwards. So we had that with the internet. So the first generation was based on a research project done by the US government. And then IPv4, V6, V5 was just a streaming protocol that did not catch up. And then V6 was defined back in the 90s and also released back in 98. And at that time, I was asked by the ETSI board to do a presentation to their assembly. So I explained what V6 is. And at that time, the 3GPP folks wanted to define a new internet protocol. So I proposed that IPv6 should be maybe the best thing. You could imagine if they didn't listen to that little advice, today you'll not be connected to the internet through your mobile devices. So things really are not that programmed, so you have to get a lot of people to help in this. So the success story of Europe, which is 2G, thanks to ETSI and the various stakeholders from around the world that have done a great job in making that happen. It didn't really happen for 3G and also for 4G, as my previous colleague has mentioned. So there's a bit of catch-up to be done in Europe, while the US has deployed 4G quite well, I guess, with Alcatel, with AT&T and so on. So basically, the fact that 3G has picked up IPv4, but not the right protocol, it's picked up NAT, which is private IP addressing. So all of you in this room, you have plenty of phone numbers, but you don't have an IP address, because with that, you do the real innovation of the internet. So we plan to get that done in 5G to be V6 exclusive in order to get that original end-to-end concept with which you can do many things. So you'll be able to be your own operator from your own device. You'll be commanding your own destiny. And the many things that are not yet really addressed, like privacy, I guess privacy is business. So as soon as privacy is taken over by companies like OTTs and so on and so forth, so it kills it. And the government are also playing the same game, because they would like also to catch you. So currently you're all suspects. You have no right to privacy, which is an undemocratic step for the current time being, be it in Europe or around the world. So this really has to be fixed. So 5G should not be seen as 4G plus 1. This is a new opportunity to redefine the current internet. So these things have been done for Ethernet. We got already 4 gig or gigabit access on Ethernet back in the 90s. And then on the fiber side, we have terabit access. So with wireless, we're just moving to some kind of gig stuff, and I think in the future we'll have to move more, because the elasticity of this service is quite fundamental. And 5G should not be seen just as an access technology as it is defined today. It has to englobe everything. And I think the first speaker has mentioned some of the verticals that needs to be addressed. We are not going to get rid of fiber, because that's the backbone, so it will be there. And on top of it, you will have 5G, which will give multi-gig access in the future, and most probably down the road, if research is done properly in that direction, will be beyond that level as well. So we'll be able to do the many things that we cannot do properly on the wireless side. And we have the many things that are coming, which are IoT and smart grid, and smart X, the various topics, the support of smart cities, and so on and so forth. You cannot just deploy them. You need to look at the security side, the privacy, and so on and so forth. So redefining the various protocols is quite fundamental. I just skip to some of the slides. So in accordance to Vladimir rightly saying, so LTE or 4G, this is also not a hiccup that we have. The technology is called LTE, but in the market, people see it as 4G. So here we are confusing the branding of such a service. We should just call it 4G, it's lots easier. But from a standardization point of view, it's a bit confusing. I know the internals, so I don't need to go through that. So you can see the curve of LTE is going to span for quite a while, until 2040, but it's only an access technology. So we should not make 5G to be 4G again, unless we want to extend 4G beyond them. So we have to give it its own business case where it makes sense. So it would be in the verticals, to take care of cars, whatever else that we cannot do with 4G, then it really makes sense. And most of the researchers are working on this. So obviously, the WTRC meeting, and I hope that currently the agents are very strong in promoting 5G, and I hope we will not have a cacophony coming out of these folks to confuse WRTC meeting to delay even the discussion about the spectrum. So we need to be careful in getting a harmonized message to the ITU. And if we want to look at the entire internet, we have a lot of folks that are defining protocols. And most of the time they have liaisons and kind of harmonized liaisons between them. I do this, don't touch it, but use my protocols. Don't discuss them with your space. And this creates kind of silos in defining protocols. And I think we have to bridge this, especially use 5G as an opportunity in order to get all of these guys to define something that makes sense and to take responsibility in creating something way beyond the current internet and also the current 4G, 5G. So these people have to create working groups between themselves in order to intersect the various issues that are not addressed by the various folks. So in summary, and I think it has been alluded to from the various speakers, so the IP infrastructure is there for a long time. And this is a fundamental thing that we have. The radio access is absolutely critical. This is basically the infrastructure of the future. But then we have to look at the many things that are not yet standardized, like cloud computing. Cloud computing today is not in favor of sovereignty of the countries. The data has to be in the country. You cannot use protocols that are defined by somebody else. I'm not going to bash at the company which is monopolizing this thing today, but I think they have to open their services so that you can use an open stack so that each country can define its data to be in its country and nobody else has access to it. This is not the case today. Cloud computing is hackable, especially by some governments. I think that's not very good. And then the management orchestration today, it's too simple, too simplistic. So there are new ways of doing things on top of the routing platforms, which are defined by the Open Networking Foundation. But still, they are working on their own, and they should be integrating organizations like the ITF and ETSI. And that will give us a new way of doing the internet. Currently, we have an hour glass. In the future, it should be champagne glass, where basically access is below, and in the middle, we have a very simple protocol in order to get the services done end to end. Thank you.